Howdy folks, welcome into today's video. I'm glad you're here. Today we're talking about how to pay less tax on your investment gains. I don't like taxes. I'm sure you don't like taxes either. So there's two accounts that I think are absolute necessities for paying less tax. And no, it's not the 401k. I don't think the 401k is a great tool. I'll explain why as the video goes on. Two accounts that I think everyone should have if they want to pay less taxes is the Roth IRA and the HSA. So a Roth IRA stands for individual retirement account, and then an HSA is a health savings account. It's not really a savings account. It's really an investment account if you go through the right firm. But anyway, so a Roth IRA, there's a few things about it. There's an income limit, but I doubt most of the people that are watching this video are above that income limit. So nothing to worry about. The contribution limit per year for both of these is very doable. And I think that's one of the reasons why they're so powerful for someone who wants to build wealth and not pay taxes. So the contribution limit, how much money you can put into the account per year with a Roth IRA is $6,000. That's going to go up over time, but for now it's sitting at $6,000 per year, which if you take 6,000 and you divide by 12, a little bit of big brain math here, you get $500 a month. So $500 a month on a regular investment, that's going to max out your Roth IRA each year, which is a great habit to get into. And then an HSA current limit is $3,600. So once again, we take $3,600 a year, divide by 12, we get our monthly contribution to meet that, and it's $300 a month. So between the two, that's $800 a month that you'd be putting into tax advantaged accounts. All right, very doable. If you can't do it this year, maybe you could do it next year or the year after that. Good goal to have though, $800 a month going into investments every single year. Every single month. Okay, now the IRA itself and the HSA itself is not an investment. The IRA is just an account. Inside of that account, I have to buy stocks or bonds or index funds or ETFs. That is the investment. Okay, so I have the accounts up top, and then within those accounts, I hold the investments. So don't be confused. You can't just put money into the Roth IRA, do nothing with it, and have investment gains over time. You still have to buy a security, we call it. Okay, you still have to buy a security inside the accounts. Okay, so what's so special about a Roth IRA? What's so special about a Roth IRA is that I can put money in. Okay, I made my $500 a month. The drawback, some people say, is, I don't get a tax break ahead of time, right? In the year I'm in right now, I don't get a tax break. But all your gains in the future, which if you're investing, you have gains in the future, are going to be tax-free. And anytime you withdraw money after a certain age, 59 and a half, you don't have to pay any taxes whatsoever at all, because you already paid taxes ahead of time whenever you put the money in the account a bajillion years ago, maybe 40 years ago, you paid tax. Taxes are probably going to be higher in the future than they are today. So I'm going to take advantage of this. I personally take advantage of this because I believe the tax code is not going to be in my favor 40 years from now. I could be wrong, but regardless, no matter what, I'm going to have tax-free gains from my Roth IRA, in 40 years or even less than that. So $6,000 a year put into this account, $500 a month. It's really not, it doesn't even feel like a huge dent. But I know if I'm able to invest and get like pretty close to average returns, S&P average returns, 10.5% a year, then I'm gonna have tax-free millions, all right? To be kind of clickbaity, I'm gonna have tax-free millions down the line. Now, if I couple that with the HSA is a really special account, okay? HSA is the most tax-advantaged account that exists. Number one, whenever I put money in this year, I get a tax break for that. So I get to write that off against my income. Maybe I make $100,000 and I put in $3,600 into the HSA. I write that off. So now my new liability in terms of taxes is $96,400. If I did that math right, hope so. That would be embarrassing. Anyway, so I get a tax break up front. I can invest that money that I put in there into ETFs or stocks or bonds or whatever I want to buy. And then whenever I use that money, it could be 40 years from now, for health purposes, I take it out, it's tax-free on the way out as well. So an HSA is the only account that I personally know of, pretty sure it's the only one that exists, that's tax-free in, tax-free out, or tax-deferred in, tax-free out. If you take it out, take the money out of the HSA without it being for a health expense, you have to pay like regular taxes just like you would on a 401k. But regardless, using it for health expenses, you're gonna have health expenses at some point in the future. That's factual, I promise. So put money in the HSA. One caveat, if you're interested in opening one, you have to have a high deductible health plan. All right, so if that ruins your day, sorry, but you have to have a high deductible health plan. If you don't know what that is, I'll put it on the screen, and a quick Google search can explain it to you. Anyway, let's do a quick example since I'm rambling a little bit. An example is if I put $800 a month, $500 into the Roth, and $300 into the HSA, and I compare that against putting $800 a month into a 401k. And both of these are going to grow for 40 years. And after 40 years, we're going to compare how much money we have. Here's why I don't like the 401k. The fees. That's my least favorite word. I hate fees, okay? If you just look up average fee on 401k, oh my God, how is it possible that there's so many averages? It's a bunch of baloney. I've seen an average as low as like 0.42%, and I've seen averages as high as 2.6%. Who knows what the truth is? But I will say this. The percentage-based fee that they take is not the only fee they take. Go ahead and look at a 401k statement. There's a rebalancing fee every quarter, and there's a this and that fee, and there's a convenience fee, and there's all an insane amount of fees. It's completely ridiculous. So I think the true fee is somewhere around 2%, based on my own research. A 2% fee sounds like nominal, like sounds like not that much, but holy Jesus, it's so much. Let me explain. Like I said, $800 a month into IRA and HSA combined. And if we're just simply investing this in the S&P 500, which is a very common, easy way to make money, put it in the S&P 500, which has had average returns of like 10.5%. I grow this over time. I let it grow for 40 years. I'm going to have 4.1 million between those two accounts. Excuse me, 4.8 million. 4.8 million between those two accounts. If I just take a 2% fee, so I take the 10.5%, I drop it down to an 8.5%. Effectively, now I have a 2% fee, right? I'm only going to have 2.8 million. So for all you math whizzes out there, 4.8 million versus 2.8 million, that's a $2 million difference just because of a 2% fee, because you chose to put it in a 401k versus an IRA or an HSA. Moreover, there's a lot of research that says all these fund managers that manage the 401ks, they almost always lose to the market, just the general S&P 500. Like if you just invest in the S&P 500, which is almost free, like the expense ratio is like 0.01% versus 2%. If you just invest in the S&P, you're probably going to beat their performance anyway without the 2% fee. So I don't think you should use a 401k. If you get a free match from your employer, you put in 3% and they match your 3%, sure, do that, but that's it, because that's free money. I would always take that. But otherwise, I wouldn't do a 401k. I would rather do an IRA and an HSA. And if I'm not interested in picking individual stocks, guess what? I'm just going to index it. Check out my last video on easy money from investing, I think is what I called it, which is all about indexing and how to pretty simply and easily and relatively low risk and low stress become a millionaire. All right, so here's another way, here's another example. Roth IRA, HSA, that's a Roth individual retirement account, after-tax account. HSA is a tax-deferred account that's tax-free on the way in, tax-free on the way out. It's amazing stuff. Okay, when it comes to the HSA, best place in my opinion to get an HSA account with is Lively. So Lively HSA, I'll put a link in the description. Now I don't have any affiliate link or anything like that, just to help you. That's what I use. I use Lively. Very, very, very good platform. 0 fees, which remember, fees are my least favorite word. So no fees, really, really good interface. So go ahead and check out Lively. In terms of a Roth IRA, any full service broker like TD Ameritrade, Charles Schwab, Fidelity, Vanguard, any of those, there's a lot more. You can find a Roth IRA. So pretty easy. Just make sure there's no fees, there's no weird catch, there's no interesting minimums or anything like that. So make sure you read the fine print, but go with one of those big time brokers and you'll get a nice Roth IRA. And then in my opinion, go with the Lively HSA. It's self-directed, so you can control all the investments inside there. You don't have to rely on your employer, all right? Hope you enjoyed today's video. Press the like, hit the subscribe if you made it this far, and have a great day.